a primary example is cancer. When people end up having cancer,
Mm-hmm.
they start becoming experts in cancer.
Right.
They start
Yeah.
researching cancer, and they start looking at everything they can do in order to overcome cancer. And if you've talked to people that have cancer, they've done all kinds of research when it comes to food and treatment
Yeah.
and exercise and all kinds of stuff. And they're more knowledgeable than many healthcare professionals out there when it comes to what to do about cancer. And in some ways, you have to be this way when it comes to your injury or pain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know with myself, like when I used to work in a physical therapy clinic, and I was actually at a course. I was actually at a course,
Mm-hmm.
and what we were doing is we were almost doing like max lifts, like, you know, how much can you lift, how much can you end up doing, and I had a twinge in my back, and it wasn't anything serious. It didn't seem like anything serious. A little click, a little, it doesn't feel right. And then the next day, I was like just in brutal pain.
Yeah.
Like, I was like not crawling, but I was like hunched over walking into work. And I worked in a physical therapy clinic. And between patients, what I would end up doing was I would just sit in the back and just lay on ice packs and just kind of go, oh my God, what in the world did I get? What did I do to my back? Is it over? Is my running over? Is all my fun over? And I was in my 20s at this time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is this going to get any better? And, you know, I got one of the physical therapists to, you know, assess me, and you know, the clinical impression that they ended up giving me, you know, wasn't really good.
Yeah.
So, but I needed to do something. I wasn't just going to sit there and do some very basic level exercise.
Yeah.
So I ended up, you know, researching to see what I can end up doing with my back. So I ended up going to look at the research journals and taking different courses and looking at what are the different things I can do to overcome my back pain and prevent that back pain from coming back on my own, because I didn't have time. I was young. I was like in my 20s. I didn't have time for back pain. I didn't have time to constantly be going to these appointments and going to my doctor and getting new prescriptions and going to physical therapy to do all these appointments and then going to the, you know, specialists. I didn't have time for this. So it's like, what can I do in order to speed this up, make this a little bit faster? Yeah. And that's kind of evolved what ended up leading to a program that I call Fix My Back Pain.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, can you talk about back reshaping, the three components of that?
Yeah, and so I, you know, after, you know, working with definitely hundreds, maybe even thousands of people with back pain, and myself and friends and family, you know, kind of what I noticed, one of the key things that I noticed and what I focused in on was just the exercise side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized is that you need to reshape the back from a painful back to a pain-free back. Mm-hmm. And there ends up being like three components to it. So you need to reshape it, you know, internally. So we need to set the environment correctly within the joint in order to allow for healing. And a primary example is if you look at people that smoke, their recovery process is a lot lower because they're putting toxins within their body. Yeah. And those toxins affect how the body works and specifically the healing process. So that ends up, so they haven't set a good environment within themselves for recovery. So you need to do the things you can internally in order to set the stage for recovery. And then the next step ends up being, you know, externally. Mm-hmm. So we need to kind of work on, you know, things that end up stabilizing that back. Yeah. And then thirdly, we end up needing to do like, you know, injury specific exercises. So depending on what type of back injury you have or injury that you have in the shoulder or knee, you need to kind of target specific, you know, exercises for those injuries.
Yeah, I really like that you mentioned the internal aspect, because I think that a lot of time that's overlooked. I mean, as far as like diet, if you're eating foods that are creating inflammation, then inflammation is gonna, you know, can help make the problem worse. You know, so I just really like that part of it.
Yeah, it really makes sense. Like, now, let's say, how does your body feel, if you've had a really good New Year's Eve and you've, consumed, more than your share of alcohol.
Right.
Your body is like angry at you the next day,
Mm-hmm.
and it is inflamed, and things aren't working properly in your body. And
Yeah.
that's an example of, and your body doesn't function properly. Like,
Exactly.
when
So
it ends up being all, um, when it ends up being all inflamed.